out cold, and I was unconscious through all this other stuff. And then late at night, 1 or 2 in the morning, um, I left my body, and I found myself like I was talking to my wife in the room 1 minute, and then the next minute there was a lot of blackness, and then the next minute I was flying through this sky full of stars. That's all I could call them for years, was these colored stars, and they were all around, and it was like a welcoming. They were just these joyous things. This energy was flowing through me. I was just exhilarated. I was euphoric. And anything that was a problem here, any kind of low vibration, things like jealousy or anxiety, those things were gone. They did not exist. They belonged to that person I was pretending to be. This guy you're talking to here, this Bill Letson. And I felt like I'd been let out of a hot, stuffy, dark closet. And I was this huge, expanded cloud or balloon or something. And I was flying through this star-filled realm. And it was a coming home. It was a welcoming. It was amazing. It was wonderful. I didn't know a person could feel that good. It was like this cosmic orgasm. It was this complete and utter joy and exuberance. And that was just the way you rolled. It was that was your vibration, that you were loved and you were stoked. And it's, oh, wow, this is so cool. This is so cool. So anyway, I'm flying along, and the biggest thing that was going through my mind was, how in the world did I forget who I really was? How was it possible that I believed I was this dude who had this whole story? He had this, this history and his goals in life and what defined him and all this stuff. And, the people that he enjoyed, the group he rolled with, and the people that, didn't like him. None of that stuff was real. It was a complete illusion. And it's like a game or a trick that we play on ourselves when we come into this physical realm, when we come into Earth and, take on this body, this separate, this single, this ego that, says me, and this is my schedule, and this is what I believe in, and this is, these are my positions, and I will defend them. We take on this character, and there's a lot of challenges that go with these characters. All of us, as we assume to be. So anyway, I was flying along, and I was just really, there was all kinds of information. It was just rolling through stuff that there wasn't any questions. It's like, oh my goodness, if I could go back and explain this whole energy thing to people. And I had complete awareness of recall, and you name the subject. And I'm like, this is awesome. I'm flying along with these stars. I feel incredible. I could do this forever. And then I landed somewhere. I landed in a place that was solid. It had indirect lighting. There were tables there, and there was equipment there, and there were beds and things like that. It was like a clinical place, almost like an institution, a facility or something. And there were beings there. And right in front of me were these 3 little hooded guys, and were overjoyed to see me. They had these dark, squatty little bodies, and they were in these dark robes with a hood. And they were all smiling and giggling and asking me things and bouncing around. They were good-natured. They were sweethearts. They had big smiles, and they had big bright eyes, and they loved me. They knew me, and they loved me forever. And they were asking me questions like, how was it? What can you tell us? What did you learn? And one of them sort of stepped forward and took a long look at me. And then he turned to the other two and he goes, he doesn't remember us. And they all started giggling. And I still, I still had my good nature and stuff. And I'm like, well, dude, I kind of remember you guys, but I'm kind of having a little trouble here. This is a very strange place here. And they giggled some more. And then there was this tall guy, and he was kind of in charge. And he was wispy. He looked like a Gumby that's been, at the gym, just trimmed up, and like a cactus. And he had a big smile on his face, bright eyes, super bright eyes. And he was tall and wispy. And I remember when he walked towards me, he kind of separated, pieces of him separated. The top moved first, and then the rest caught up. It was like I was looking at somebody underwater, or like they were made out of vapor or mist or gel or something. So anyway, but he was super cool. And when he did come close to me, my chest just expanded and my throat just tightened. And I felt like I was going to break down into uncontrollable crying from love. There was so much love coming from this being that it was overwhelming. It was paralyzing. He was the sweetest guy. We went back and forth with different things. And all I remember was everything I said, he was chuckling. And you could tell that he just loved me. And he kept laughing. And, I kept trying to, as, firefighter, they're kind of type A's, and they kind of, step in and take care of things, or try to take over sometimes when things are unusual. And so I was kind of piping up now and again, and he would just chuckle at that. And I got the sense it was like, like a young father would, and he had a toddler, and a toddler's walking around the house for the first time, and he's getting into things, and he's knocking the plant over, and he's wrestling with a pillow, and the father was just, just in love with his kid. And he's a little kid walking around thinking he's running things. And that's what the sense I got was, this was this is how much this love was, like a father looking down at a child. And so it wasn't very organized. It wasn't much going on. And at one point I said, well, I'm not going back to that place, meaning here, this body. No way that's ever in the plan. And so are we gonna, what's next? A review of my life? Would you guys like to start? And the big wispy guy, he just cracked up, and he had this sweetest laugh, and he just said, sure, let's do that. How do you want to start? And I thought this was strange. I shouldn't be like organizing things, but I wasn't there it wasn't the end of my life, and I wasn't there to stay, and I'm the only one who didn't know it. And so I talked for a while. I told a bunch of stories, and a bunch of things that I was thankful for, and that's not how a review of life usually goes. There's much more profound things of how you've impacted others and things like that. I've learned since, explain that to him. And then along the way, he just goes, all right, that's enough. Time to go back. And I was like, dude, go back? Are you kidding me? And I said, I am not going back there. Because, this is a powerful illusion where we are. And we can really get lost in the madness. And it really is an illusion. And we come from a place that's amazing. And you know it instantly when you get there. And I was not going back. And he told me, no, you're going back. And that's kind of when I knew I was going back, because they had complete power in the situation. There is no fighting them. But from what I understand, most people try. And I tried some more, and I said, look, boss, the only people that are going to really miss me is my wife and my parents, but they will get over it. They are strong people. And he thought that was pretty funny. And I went on with something else like, I'm almost 40. I think I was 38 at the time. I'm almost 40 years old, my life's pretty much over. And he thought that was funny too. And he said, no, you have things to do. You have important things to do, and you're going back. And he came close to me. And the closer he got, the more I knew that had ultimate control over the dimension and my place in it. And I noticed it started to break up. It was starting to dematerialize. And I felt myself descending. It was a drop in frequency, a vibration, and I was on my way somewhere else. I was leaving that channel. I was leaving that frequency. And I dropped away into darkness. And the last thing I remember was I was somewhere near my body. And it was a scary place. I brought this back, and a lot of near-death experiencers are calling me in and say, this is exactly what I felt, but I couldn't put it in words. And it was a place like, it was lonely. It was dark, and it was low vibration, nothing like where I just was. And you don't want to be there. And it's in this place right next to where we are in the physical. This was my impression.